we're ready to take this head on. And, as Norm and others on set there with, we made a very conscious decision. My family made a decision to fight back against this because we knew that if we didn't, it would make it that much easier to go after people. So we're ready for this fight. But that said, I think it's really important to give people the insight into what it's like, not so that they have personal sympathy for me, but so that they understand how replicable this is to other people. And to your question, Alicia, when the sensors go off on my property at night, I don't know if it's someone who's been inspired to violence by Donald Trump showing up to do my family harm, or if it's government agents. That's a really scary thing. And I don't need to belabor the point, but there's like a very practical issue there. Am I defending myself, or am I letting agents in to come ransack my house? That's a really scary thing to deal with. Now, I remember being told by a former Secret Service agent when I came out against Donald Trump in the first place, he said, you need to be prepared for one day guys with guns to show up at your house. I never imagined it would be my own government.
Maz, I want to stay with you for a second on that point, because I think it's an important example of what this represents in so many ways, and why I think, and I'm curious if you see it the same way, having been in the room with the man and had conversations with him, that this projection that Trump is famous for, where he goes after people, I see it as the ultimate sign of his weakness. That he is in many ways emotionally immature, that he blames others for his own incompetencies. He admits he doesn't like to read. Well, y'all know your mama told you if you don't read, you don't know, right? And so all of these things sort of bleed out in the relationships that he has. And he wants others, in many respects, to suffer the way he believes he has. So that projection is a real big part of this. So when he says the things he said to you about, one day folks with guns will come at your door, well, yeah, he's thinking back to when, his place was raided in Mar-a-Lago. And somehow he blames others for the fact that he took secret documents home when he knew better, because he was president of the United States. So what does that say to you about how difficult this is going to be for a lot of people like yourself when you're dealing with someone who is emotionally unstable, without the kind of guardrails that you were accustomed to and are part of in the first term, now just being fed, spoon-fed by sycophants who are too weak themselves to stop it?
Well, the answer, Michael, is when someone is that emotionally invested, there is no limit to where it will go. And that's why I'm out here every day warning people. It's not about me. It's about the next person and the next person and the next institution targeted, and business leaders that are intimidated, and nonprofit leaders who are going to be investigated. If we don't push back against this collectively, it will keep going, because there's nothing that can satiate his desire for revenge. And Simone said before the break that he was implementing a whole of government revenge strategy. I will politely disagree with Simone, because I actually think it's even bigger than that. I think it's a whole of society plan that he's moved past the whole of government piece. He's got, officers and agents from across the federal government, but he's also going sector by sector in society, making them sign pledges like the universities to align with his worldview, making businesses sign pledges. He is trying to co-opt them so that they are a part of the revenge strategy, sometimes actively, sometimes passively. This is big. This is really, really big. And if folks don't believe it's coming for everyday people, all they need to do is look at the news of the last week of this administration exerting power to try to take over the IRS criminal division and having meetings of law enforcement agencies to prioritize investigations into left-wing groups. They are trying to go after whole networks of Americans who have organized to protest this administration.
It is systemic. The point that Miles is making, which I would agree with. I'll take your edit, Miles. It's systemic, Norm. And it is no longer a whole of government approach. It is fear is the policy. It is the system of which the president would like to govern. I just want to underscore for folks, these are the government agencies in this interagency weaponization working group, according to Reuters. The White House, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Central Intelligence Agency, that's the CIA, y'all, the Department of Justice, the Department Department of Defense, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Homeland Security, the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, the Federal Communications Commission. Norm, this is worse than Nixon. It's worse than what J. Edgar Hoover did when he was head of the FBI, because, you know, Nixon's enemies list, J. Edgar Hoover, the way in which he exacted retribution and targeting the opposition, they were at least whispers. Donald Trump has a bullhorn. He's telling us as loudly as possible what they are doing in our faces. They're not hiding it to the point that Miles is making.
That's right, Simone. And that's why we need a whole of society response to it. Were those 7 million people who turned out over the weekend scared? Maybe some of them were, but they showed up and marched anyhow. Is Miles Taylor hiding out in a darkened room? No, he's coming on the air, and even though Trump has targeted him, he's speaking out.